People are just so terrible, you know? Like, and if you focus so much on how terrible people are, you're gonna go nuts. Like, you really gotta move past it and just, we need to reach a point where we can just accept people for their, like, who they are, and as long as they are not physically like assaulting people, I think we're in a good place. Like, I don't know, we've reached a point where, like, it's not right. We all do bad things. Like, as human beings, we are fundamentally flawed because we do bad things. Right? And because we do these bad things, we really do need some base level of forgiveness, I think. We need to stop pretending like we all are great people. Like, and it's because our world is complicated, right? You, like, what you do in one instance where you mean no harm or anything, you may offend someone and you really have no idea. Sometimes we do things on purpose, right? Like, sometimes we do mean to, you know, offend or something like that. But, presumably after a certain age, we need to grow up and then say, like, who are we as people? I think that age just keeps getting pushed further and further back, and I don't know if that's a good thing, but I will say that is a real thing. Like, we need to have like a sort of cutoff for that, but I don't know. I don't know how that operate, to be honest, but who knows? Maybe we just need to be higher, nicer, more empathetic. I think we have to fake it. Because at the core, it's not even about whether or not you feel personally the same way as the other person is, or you can really sort of put yourself in their shoes. It's more about whether or not you think it may be helpful for you to know how someone else is feeling. Just on the base level of like selfishness, you would want to know how that other person is feeling, because that's the way in which you're going to be able to know how they're going to operate. Like, in this sort of cutthroat world nowadays, man, that type of information is helpful. But because we isolate ourselves so much into our little bubbles, we don't even pretend to think about what other people are like really going through or how they're living. Right? I don't know. Leftovers are strange, you know? Usually the reason why you have leftovers is because you didn't like it in the first place. Right? Like, I would say unless you're dieting, I guess, but in most cases, the reason why you have leftovers is because you didn't like it in the first place. So you probably shouldn't have even entertained it. You don't want to send it back. Those happy little coinkydinks are really, I think, tolerable and pleasant. Like, we should do that more often. Like, I think we keep raising the bar too high for people. Like, I think we need to lower it just a little bit and say, look, you don't have to actually like the person. Just fake it. just fake it. If you have to blow up, fine, whatever, but, like, fake it as long as you can. Like, because if you fake it, at some point you'll start to actually enjoy the person, presumably, right? Like, that's how I feel. Just sort of fake it. And if you fake it long enough, most of the time we get over things. I think that's why arranged marriages tend to work better than non-arranged marriages. And it's not because the arrangement is inherently better, right? Like, you don't actually need the arrangement part. What you need is this sort of like wonky little thing that, what do they call it? Perseverance. Yeah, you need a little bit of perseverance, right? If after the full year and after like the second year, you're like, I really can't do it. I made a huge mistake. I'll pay whatever. Like, this was a terrible decision on both our parts. Like, if you're at that point and you're like, I can't do it anymore, fine. Like, fine. But if you like this person at all, if you've been with this person for 5 years or 3 years or whatever, like, you either like this person or you don't, right? Like, to some extent, it is a real thing. I think it's harder to get married young. I think it's harder to get married when you are, I think it's harder. I think it's difficult because you don't know who you are. And it really is a situation where younger coupling, I would say like 19, 20, 21, like that type of age group coupling, is pretty difficult. You either love that person or it's bad shit. I think it's tough. I think it's tough. I think all of it's tough. I think people grow apart. I think people grow different ways. I think the responsibilities of life force people to do things that they may not want to do, and when that hits you, can you really go back? I think all of these things are true. And it is one of those things where I think we're just so caught up, and instead of like analyzing our own shit, we want to look at everyone else's shit, right? And if you really are a person who's like, yeah, no, I've analyzed my shit, I wrote about it, I journaled the shit out of it, I've done it twice, and you're like, no, I've analyzed my shit, I know where my shit is, like, but like, when you're at that point, fine. You know who you are, you know what you're doing, you've analyzed your shit. I think that's all it really takes to really sort of break out of things. Analyzing your own shit. Because if you analyze your own shit, then at some point you will really get in a space that allows for you to evolve past the sort of nonsense. I really am at the point where I just don't know if we as a collective society want to develop past the nonsense. Like, my fiance is at a party right now with a girl who, the party is 13 going on 30. This girl's getting married. I think she's just entering 30 or becoming 30 or whatever it may be. And as she becomes 30, she's in a situation where she is so fucked up with her just very above average lifestyle in life that she just is going through a mental health crisis now. So she can't even go to the party. What type of weak nonsense is that? Like, that marriage ain't about to fucking work. Like, there's no way. There's no way. And the reason for it is not really either of their fault. It's not their fault. It's a situation of one of you is going to have to develop some perseverance. Like, both of you really need some gut level perseverance or be very lucky. Like, those are really your options here, because right now I don't think they have it. But hopefully they can grow into it, right? Like, it's hopefully work and life setbacks. I think with weddings in particular, going through that together, it just really starts to fuck with you. And you really do start to learn things about yourself. And you sort of mature as well. I think all marriages are different. Because all people are different. Every person has to come from some nonsense background. They have to deal with family or no family at all. They have to deal with, growing up and becoming an adult and trying to find purpose and also, feed themselves and live a life that they and their family and their community that everyone is going to be proud of. All of that is sort of the underpinning of all of this, really. That's what life's about. All of it. Life is simply about whether or not you are striving and seeking fulfillment and accomplishment for the betterment of not only yourself, but your family, and preferably the broader world. That's what it is. There's nothing else. That's it. So if you're not doing this, and it doesn't mean that you have to be president, right? I mean, you could be a stay-at-home mom, and that could be enough, right? Having a couple of well-raised children that are respectful and that can themselves hopefully produce respectful kids, that's important. But most of y'all is fucking toxic. And because most of y'all is fucking toxic, you're raising little bastards. And they're nutso. They're nuts. They're nuts. Oh my goodness. Man, oh man. These kids are fucked in the head. And I just don't understand how you raise monsters. I get it if they were clinically or something and there's just something misfiring. I get that. But the reality is that we aren't all doing our best. And because we aren't all doing our best, we are sort of poisoning our own well right now. Unless we decide to do better, just think to ourselves, hey, is what I'm doing, is that going to be for the betterment, or is this going to be bad? Right, is this going to be good or is this going to be bad? That's it. Because my real issue with everything is that we just pretend that things are different than that. We pretend that things are in fact completely different from this is good and this is bad. We like to talk into the gray. We like to pretend this is bad because of this and this is good because of this. And then everyone else is like, are you sure? And then they're like, yeah, no, because of this and this and this and this history and this thing. Some things are complicated. I can hear that. I can hear that some things are truly, truly complicated. As a lawyer, I deal with a lot of them. But man, oh man. Most things aren't that complicated. And most things come down to whether or not it's good or it's bad. Someone killing someone is bad. That is objectively bad. Are all killings bad? Probably not. There are some killings that have to happen, right? There are certain things that have to happen. But I think they should be very rare. They have to be very rare. And with the proliferation of guns and other things, I just am oof. I might become a agoraphobic and stay in the house because it's frightening out there. It's scary. But, you live and you work. And as you work, you hopefully find that thing that pushes you. And if you find that thing that pushes you, you find that little thing that says, you know what, you're going out. You know what, you're going to ask this girl out for a date or this coworker for a drink or whatever it may be. And in those moments and that hope and then that aspiration and then that love, you really do start to get closer to God. I really don't think, and this is objective, I really don't think people are bad, right? I don't really think people are bad. I think we have so skewed our understanding of life, of